So I'm Harry, I'm the product lead for Daily Playlist, also the general manager. So my role within the company is that I look after the day-to-day between the marketing, the devs, the strategy, work across all the different departments while also working with like the external partners such as iMusician. And Daily Playlist is a platform which allows artists to connect with curators and curators to manage and organize their submissions to their playlists. So Daily Playlist is really beneficial for independent musicians in the sense that we have a really robust free tier. So we act as a really accessible learning ground for independent artists to learn about the whole submission to playlist process, how to find the right playlist, how to judge whether it's going to be a good fit for your music. On the other side, the curators as well tend to also be artists, which is a really interesting find. So it's a really, I guess, as I said, accessible point for both curators and artists on both independent levels to start learning about the processes, to really find the right partnerships for them, and to get some streams on the board and to have a good chance of finding some audience and fans. So for independent artists, it's extremely important to incorporate playlisting into your release campaigns, as it's a way to connect with curators who have like crafted these lists of music for audiences that could potentially be your fans. So let's say I'm a curator and my passion is, let's say, post-punk, first genre that came to my mind, and you've spent your time crafting this playlist and you start to get an audience and all this audience loves post-punk. For the independent artist who's a post-punk artist, this is one of the ways to get a good chance to find new fans. You know, if you are successful in your submissions and you get placed on that playlist, you now got access to X amount of people who are following it. And really from that point onwards, it's about trying to get on the right playlist so you can find genuine fans and really increase the chances of boosting up those streams and you're developing more of an audience than your local audience, let's say. Yeah, so there's been a few points which have not really changed since I guess this playlisting market like developed. Always listen to at least the top 10 songs on a playlist. Um, if you listen to those top 10 songs and you think maybe, oh, this isn't quite a fit or my music would not fit with it in between any of those songs, then it's probably not going to be the perfect list, let's say, and your efforts or time could be spent elsewhere and your credits could be spent elsewhere. I'd also say look at the amount of tracks on a playlist. You don't want to get onto playlists with thousands and thousands of tracks because what we always try and encourage from the curators is to get them to have active listening playlists rather than passive listening. Passive listening has been amazing for the growth of playlisting, but in terms of really getting the most out of it, I think a condensed track list definitely encourages active listening and people to take notice of what is on that list rather than just having it on in the background. I'd say make sure the list is also cohesive in the way it's curated. By that, I mean you don't really want to get onto a list that, let's say, has pop, then hard techno, and then some heavy metal thrown in there with a bit of like, let's say, instrumental world music, because the chances of converting a fan from that is very little. You know, there's only few people who are probably listening to that list for the general spread of the genres. So it's probably better to spend your credits on a list that is very concise, that is very in line with how your music is and how you perceive your music. So yeah, I think the perfect playlist pitch is definitely about showing that you understand your music will be a fit. By that, I don't mean coming across as like we're the best, like we're better than any of the other artists on this list. It's about being able to present yourself like, hey, I know that you've got XYZ artists on this list. We've actually got in our similar artists on Spotify, for example, these artists appear there as well. Or you know that there's some connections and a very genuine approach to that you've taken the time to listen, and this is a carefully considered credit spent. Um, And then I think anything more than that is not necessary. I think just showing that you've taken the time and you've really there's a reason why you decided to spend your credit onto this list is definitely part of the perfect pitch. So for me, I think in terms of the actual like curation of the list, as I said before, extremely cohesive, like really tight. For me, if I'm listening to a playlist, I want to know what I'm going to get myself into. I don't really like any nasty surprises because that's going to take you out the flow of listening to that list, and it's going to a bit jarring, right? So definitely like tight curation. I like someone who's been selective. As I said, if I see a playlist with thousands of tracks on, honestly, I'm probably just not going to click on it. It's just not for me. I want someone who's not just chucking every song in. I want someone who's been like, no, this is a list that I've curated specifically for these reasons. Also, the frequency is updated. I'd like to know a clear frequency so I can go back and check. Let's say I've listened to a list over and over again because I know it's just been updated. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to come back in X amount of time on the curator end, either being obvious and including it in the description on Spotify that this playlist is updated daily or throughout the week or weekly or bi-weekly or monthly. Then I know when to come back and when to come check on that list again and when to expect new additions. So I think that communication there definitely as a listener is just a bit more of an easy experience to be. Yeah, so as I was mentioning earlier, it's all about, for me, getting on the right playlist that can create a bit of a snowball effect. By the snowball effect, I mean that you are found on a well-curated playlist, then particular members of the audience of that playlist will add you to their own playlist, show it to their friends, and it becomes a very natural growth of your fan base. From there, your monthly listeners are going up. Then that favors the Spotify algorithm. If you're getting saves, you're getting playlist additions. They can see supposedly they can see like when your link is shared and how like the track throughs on those. So everything feeds into the algorithm in this regard. So yeah, it's honestly about getting into those right playlists that are well curated and have a genuine audience. I mean, back in the day, like 2019, 2020, which is now back in the day, right? There's a lot more of a heavy snowball effect, I think, in regards to the Spotify editorials, the Spotify algorithmic playlists. Now it's about getting into that recommended radio, where the person's finished listening to their playlist or finished listening to that single, and then your song's going to come on next because it's grouped in with all these amazing other tracks in these specific group of music. In terms of success cases, if I'm being honest, I'm drawing a bit of a blank because there's so many of them. But not one particular one comes to mind. It's a bit of a proven I guess, technique in the industry or during your release campaign to try and do submissions to playlists, because this is one of the main reasons to do so. Is really about finding and expanding that fan base and having this snowball effect by getting on the right playlists and connecting with the right curators. A lot of these curators as well tend to have brands off platform. So a lot of our premium curators especially, they have audiences across Instagram, TikTok. They're running very well established labels. They're doing like artist partnerships just for like shout outs on these socials as well. So taking the time to find the right partners, the right curators can really have a big impact as well off Spotify as well as on Spotify. Check out daily playlists. We've recently been going under a big stretch of improvement with regards to our subscription plan, our Artist Pro plan. We have an automatic submission tool which we've built an algorithm which submits to the playlist most suited for your tracks, and that the curators and playlists have been fed by the algorithm, so we know along the same points as I've been talking about, that they're tightly curated. They don't have this big spread of genres. The track list is very small. The branding is on point. And yeah, for $14.99 a month, you can get access to this tool and get up to 10 extra placements on daily playlists. We also have a whole set of premium curators who are extremely vetted curators, where they've got proven statistics and engagement behind their playlists. And as a platform that supports the independent artists and the independent curators, we are very much supporting them in the way that these premium credits are split. So we split them 60/40 in favour of the curators. So we're really looking to be that platform that looks after the aspiring artists, the aspiring curators, and really trying to create an ecosystem that's beneficial for both parties.